Hi, I'm Rob Cram, and today we're taking a look at Mighty Rocket Studios' Final Exam, which is available on Xbox 360, PS3 and PC platforms. Telling the story of four stereotypical high school students, the game simply and without much deviation thrusts our quartet into a nightmare that only affects the poor mutants which have sprung up from nowhere. In a nutshell, single players can jump into local play and choose one of the four characters who each possess their own strengths and weaknesses. Then it's a roller coaster ride of fetch quests and mashing of buttons through 8 school-themed levels. This is pretty much the crux of the game, as it throws hordes of mutants at the players from start to conclusion. There's a bit of flair involved in how players can dispatch the enemies by performing simple gravity-defying air combos or switching between melee and ranged weapons on the fly. There's even a few special attack moves and throwable weapons to spice things up. Make no mistake, there's not too much depth here, and killing does get a little repetitive, but in all fairness, the game is rather fun. There's a satisfying element to lashing out at all manner of enemies, which come in various ground and air-based forms, with some simply running at you and others swooping down or firing projectiles. This means players really have to pick their targets well and constantly dodge around the screen to avoid taking damage. There are numerous boss encounters as well, and sub-boss enemies which require being bashed quite a bit before going down. But these are pretty easy taken care of, especially if players spend the time searching each level for collectibles which are tied to levelling up the character and granting new weapons. What is perhaps the best part of the game and the most challenging is the option to tailor the combo meter so that it has to be manually switched to recoup the bonus score. This means skilled players can gamble by raking up a huge score before banking the points. However, if the player is hit, then the entire combo is broken and has to be restarted. It's a neat feature that adds a bit more complexity to the game, but also highlights some of the cheap attack moves the AI throws at you to deliberately break high-scoring combos. In terms of visuals, the game offers some colourful and pleasant looking environments to stroll around in, although some areas are repeated, which is a bit of a shame. The side-on perspective works well, and there's some neat use of lighting and shadows, bringing the often claustrophobic areas to life. The comic book approach is certainly welcome here and fits well with the game's subtle humour. The audio is also very good, with some fast-paced tunes and plenty of sound effects from all the blood-splattering mutant killing. There's no real voice acting for the main characters as you play, and somewhat lacks a bit of personality in this area. Gamers will find that completion of the 8 missions is quite quick, but beyond this, there's a bit of replay in obtaining high scores, completing the game with all the characters, and teaming up with a friend locally and doing it all over again. There's an online mode for 4 players which opens up the playing field even more, but this works and does not work in equal measure. On one hand, it's fine all 4 players splitting up and doing their own thing, which in turn loses the point of playing together. Then on the other hand, when all 4 characters are on screen at the same time, it becomes a bit of a jumbled mess to actually see who is doing what. Either way, the 4-player online game is fun to mess around with, but sadly is not really up to par with playing solo or with just 2 players. To conclude, Final Exam is a neat little game that does provide some fun-filled entertainment for a number of hours. Sadly, the gameplay is lacking in terms of variety and scope, and is highly repetitive after killing so many enemies. There are moments where the game offers some change in how enemies are killed, but these are far and few between. However, all negatives aside, for the asking price of under £7, you can't really go wrong, and with the game offering good visuals and some fairly robust gameplay, Final Exam does come recommended. Final Exam scores 7.5 out of 10. I'm Rob Cram, thanks for watching.